we're going to talk Arsenal now. A bittersweet evening at the Emirates Stadium for the Gunners. The big news, the positive news, was that they got Bukayo Saka back. And not only did he return to action, he returned with a goal. But the bad side is that they've lost Gabriel, who is such an important part of that Mikel Arteta defence. And, you know, for a long time this season, Flex, it feels like we've been talking about Arsenal as maybe lacking in the final third, not having that creative spark at times, missing that striker. That's very well documented. But my counter-argument has always been they've been able to lean on their defensive side, and that's why they're still second. That's why they're still in the Champions League. But to take out one of the key pieces now in Gabriel, and potentially Jurriën Timber as well, and have Ben White unavailable while Calafiori's picked up an injury too on international duty, all of a sudden it looks really worrying at the back.
Yeah, it's almost just like pop that balloon of hope and excitement that Bukayo Saka's back, so you can give this two-legged tie against Real Madrid a real good go. Because I'll be honest, Harry, I was sort of thinking that Arsenal can give Real Madrid a good run for their money. But with these omissions, and obviously we don't know the extent of some of them, I think you're waiting for Timber to see how bad, or whether it's just precautionary, who knows. Gabriel, hamstring, he's not playing on Thursday. No, surely not. Feel like at minimum the first leg, and even that couple of weeks, that'll be both legs, right? That gap is too big. If you have to, and there's no Ben White, I just cannot see how you're going to compete against Real Madrid's front line. With that, it would take a monumental effort, and it's really unfortunate for Arsenal because you've basically traded Saka for Gabriel, and like you said, with the defence and the midfield being so solid, it's what's allowed you to kind of sneak by. All you've got to do is focus on usually only having to score a goal. You can keep a clean sheet or 2 goals max, and Marino's been trying to chip in and do that to just keep you afloat until you get Saka back and get some reinforcements in. But that is too big a loss, and now I really fear for Arsenal over those 2 legs, because it was already a tough ask with just Saka coming back. You take out Gabriel, you take out Jurriën Timber, and there's no Ben White. Nah.
Yeah, it's a problem. And obviously, Calafiori's out as well. That's another one.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at that defensive line.
What would that be? Right back, there's no Tomiyasu. Who would play right back? Partey?
Probably Thomas Partey. But then you're taking away, for me, your best number 6. Yeah. So whichever way you kind of shuffle the pack, it doesn't look very positive.
Kivior coming in as well. Kivior coming in next to Saliba. Honest kid, no worries about that. But the drop-off is just too big.
I completely agree. And we've been talking a lot about the Gabriel injury specifically, because that's the one that feels like the most damaging. He's the one that you look at and feel is irreplaceable among those that are injured at the moment. Ali McCoist was speaking about this on the breakfast show, and he feels that the loss of Gabriel is bigger than if they would have not had Bukayo Saka. Do you agree with that?
I do agree. In isolation, we say Arsenal's best player is Bukayo Saka, right? In isolation. But as a defensive unit, and what gives you the platform to truly go and win games and shut opposition out and be as good as you are, it does stem from that spine, right? It does stem from the nucleus at the back. And I agree with Ali. Swap, if you said you could keep it as it is and Saka can't come back, you'd have a better chance, weirdly, with Gabriel still fit, if you get what I mean. Don't get me wrong, it's a huge ask for Ethan Nwaneri, Marino through the middle. I get it. But the basis is still there to have the shutout of Real Madrid. You're putting in players like Kivior in against Mbappe, Vinicius and Rodrigo. It's scary hours. Jude arriving late. Nah, not for me.
I think it massively changes the way that Arsenal approach the game as well, because one of the things that they do really well when they get on the front foot and they pin teams back is they squeeze everybody up the pitch. And the reason they can do that is because they're quite confident that if you drop a ball over the top of their back line, both Gabriel and Saliba are really comfortable at turning and running back towards their own goal. They got the pace, they got the physicality. The minute you bring Jakub Kivior into the team, who's the most likely replacement at this stage, you end up having to drop off a few extra yards, which means your press isn't as effective, which means you can't get up the pitch as quickly, you can't suffocate the opposition, and all of a sudden your whole game model, which is reliant on having these 2 beasts at centre-back, changes.
Yeah.
And then you're not Arsenal anymore. You're a different side. If you're going to have to drop off and you're going to have to camp in, and it just doesn't feel like, with the lack of a
you're not naturally
forward, suited
to that.
Yeah, they're not naturally suited.
And it changes Saliba as well, because I think that, listen, Saliba's unreal, right? But there's something, I just think Gabriel sometimes, you can explain more for me, but I think he gets overlooked as like
100%.
who the best centre-back actually is.
He's
personally,
he's
the conduit, 100%. And I feel like I think it's a disrespect to say he's holding Saliba's hand. That's probably too strong a phrase. But without Gabriel there, I don't think Saliba can look as good as he does. When Saliba's not playing, I think Gabriel has a better chance of holding Kivior's hand through a game rather than the other way around, if you get what I mean. And actually, weirdly, I know the conversation's not about this, but you could have been, I don't want to, not wishing injury on any players, but if Saliba had got injured and Gabriel didn't, it wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree with
because
that,
I think he's the aggressor. He's the one who really organises everything. He has the method to the madness. He can do it all. And Saliba's unbelievable, right? Unbelievable defender. But I just think that Gabriel is the bigger miss and the better player.
I think Gabriel's the one that goes and challenges. He's the aggressor. He's the one that goes and wins the ball back. And Saliba is the guy who is a little bit tidier in possession and will clean up.
Yes.
And then progress the ball.
Exactly. And Kivior can't replicate that.
No, he can't. He can't get anywhere near it because he's not up to it. He's not at the same level as Gabriel.
Yeah. So that is a real scary miss for Arsenal. One that, if I was an Arsenal fan, I would be really gutted by that.
Yeah, it's of huge concern. You just wonder if maybe they're keeping their cards close to their chest.
Can I ask you this actually? Just with the hamstring injuries, you got some big. Was it four? Four big ones.
And two of them have required surgery.
Two of them required surgery. Is there anything I'm just throwing out there, just Arteta's methods? We always talk about Arsenal, how the intensity in which they play at in both directions. Every player who plays, there's no luxury players. It's not like a Mo Salah where you go, listen, don't worry, Bukayo, you kind of stay out there. We got you. Everyone's kind of running equally. Is there anything in that, or do you think it's just an unlucky set of circumstances this year?
It's really difficult to say, to be honest with you, because to say it's to do with the training methods would suggest that I know what goes on a daily basis, and I don't. I've been to a few of those open sort of training
where they do the rondos in front of the media,
where they literally do their kick-ups and
not
their
the real one,
for half an hour, and then they tell you to get lost before the real training starts, right? So, but you can't tell from those things, and I find it a little bit strange when people pretend as if they know everything that goes on. It's so well protected. It's so sort of enclosed in terms of the environment. It's difficult to know. The ones that were suffered by Saka and Havertz, I think you could probably look at them and say, although they weren't solely down to being overplayed, the fact that they were tears rather than pulls of the hamstring suggests that they were in that kind of
and
red
they play
zone.
every
and
game.
They play every
pretty
game.
Much 90 minutes every
and
game.
And they cover a hell of a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And with those, I think you can make that connection a lot easier. With Gabriel's, okay, he plays a lot of football and he's an ever-present for this Arsenal side, but look back at the international break just gone. He only played the first game for Brazil. He was suspended for the game against Argentina. He even came back early, and then he's the one who ends up pulling out.
That's a good thing for you. Well, I would have said it was a good thing for you, him getting suspended for that game, because
exactly.
You know what he would have been on against Argentina. But then look, he gets the rest and comes back and tears that or hurts him down.
It just shows you how football can play with your emotions. 1 minute you're jumping up and down. He's suspended. He's coming back early, in the next minute he suffers this injury. But just very quickly, Bukayo Saka's return. I know we touched on it at the top of the show, but how much does he add to the Arsenal attack for you? Because for me, Arsenal are 50% better in attack instantly with him in the team.
Everything. I'd probably even say more. Like he's so influential. He's so consistent. He's so good. Defenders don't know what to do with him. They can double up on him. He can work his way out of that. He can go on his weaker foot. He has an element of inevitability about him. The shades of the Arjen Robben of he's going to cut in. Can't really stop it. He's got a great delivery. He's super strong. Very rarely do I see him lose the ball. And there's not a lot of players that, when your team plays against them, you just fear what they're going to do because you just know they're not going to have an off day. I can't think of the last time I've said, Saka's had a stinker. Didn't see him. And you look at, it's only really Mo Salah who's better than him. And that's only by volume of goals and assists. In terms of performance level per 90, Saka probably more involved in more games than Mo Salah, but the numbers speak for themselves. But he's an incredible player, and from what he's done, from how young he's come into that squad, from left back, playing in left wing early, right wing, It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's been an incredible journey.
It's been an incredible journey, and he is a fantastic player.
He is indeed. If we're going to look at it glass half full, that's the positive, right? Bukayo Saka's back.
He is back.
And that gives Arsenal more attacking threat just by default.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.